One of the things that has really supported the business is people. And I realized that for any organizations to grow beyond the startup stage and establish itself formidably, you need a great team.
What's that one advice you'll give to an entrepreneur probably watching this on what they need to do in order to ensure that their business becomes successful?
Entrepreneurs need to professionalize their businesses to be more successful, to make sure that their business outfits are not informal. They have structures, systems, and processes.
Of last week with the story of Ronald Bwosi, who's a group managing partner for Ronalds LLP. Let me just create for you a small recap in terms of what exactly we had our conversation on last week, but you can also just check it out on YouTube. So Ronald was just someone who believed that he can actually create a big company. He started off in River Road in a very, very dark room that he used to pay only just 4,000 shillings. But with that particular belief, he just kept on just pushing it and eventually got a few clients who actually managed to enable the business expand. And today we just want to explore how the business is just expanding into becoming a force within the region, not only in Kenya, in Uganda, and across Africa. So Ronald, the last time we left this particular conversation, we were just trying to explore your interesting journey, whereby right now we can see you having all these particular top tier suits.
Yeah.
But eventually you started off in River Road.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned you got a few clients who managed to enable the business now grow. How is it now growing the business? How has it been growing the business from that point whereby you got your breakthrough?
So it's been challenging, and it's been also interesting, and a very great learning experience. One of the things that has really supported the business is people. And I realized that for any organizations to grow beyond the startup stage and establish itself formidably, you need a great team. And one of the greatest realization I had to make is just that besides being an accountant, you have to learn how to manage people and to put into place a great team that will then support the vision. So that has really supported the organization. And then the other thing that you need to, I just realized that you have to be a good marketer. So marketing skills and competencies are very critical for every entrepreneur to grow the business beyond the startup stage. So you know, as accountants, we're very timid people. Yeah. We're introverted. I had to learn to speak. Yeah. To do presentations and to learn even issues of the social media, digital marketing and all that. And that has really been incredible and supported me to scale up the business. And the other thing I realized that you also have to be good in tech. Most of entrepreneurs, as an entrepreneur, you can't shy away from the technology. And because technology needs to be integrated into your business, because almost every industry now is being impacted by technological trends. And for me, learning the softwares, the cloud accounting systems, the AI, how it's disrupting the accounting world and all that, and integrating it in my business has been very, very supportive in helping us to scale the company to another level. And of course, learning how to lead people. There's a difference between human resource and leadership, because leadership is trying to sell the vision to the team and to the customers and to every stakeholder that is involved in the business. And those are the things that have really contributed to our success as a firm.
And in terms of over the years, because primarily in an industry whereby they have the quote-unquote big four, I was actually trained to become an accountant, but I left in between. But I remember while in university at Strathmore, the aim was to work within the big four. And here you are, you're setting up an audit firm that was called the vision was for you to become also, to now become amongst the big four. How has it been now trying to steer in this particular industry whereby the multinationals have control?
That's a good question, but then, and most people also ask me that question. But I say that the big four firms, the accounting firms, they have a special role they play in the society, and they have their own customers. And we're not like trying to take customers from the big four, because if you really look at our business model, and personally I've not worked for the big four, and that helps me to have like an original thinking, because what informs our business strategy is not the big four, it's the customer. Because what we realize is a lot of customers or companies that are struggling to get their business streamlined, and mostly they are not able to approach the multinational firms. So there's an uncontested market that is not covered by the Big Four firms. And Big Four, we actually complement each other with the Big Four, because Big Four give us business, we give Big Four business. So it's a complementary market rather than a competitive market. And the other thing is, looking at it is, the Big Four, because of their orientation, you cannot like try to copy them, because you see they have resources. They've been there for a long time and all that. So whatever they do, they can be able to do it better. But for us, within our space, whatever we do, we can also do it better, because we are an indigenous firm, of course, with global affiliations, global networks, a global infrastructure. But being an indigenous firm enables us to think on behalf of the local people. So there's some industries that are very unique. If you look at like this, the SACCO industry in this country, it's not a replica of the cooperative movement in the UK or whatever. So it's a very unique model that requires localized thinking to be able to serve them more effectively. If you look at the local entrepreneurs and all that, their thinking and all that, their orientation, they need a local person with global exposure to help them to be able to expand and grow their business. So I believe that for us, we want to be a big organization in our own unique ways, rather than having a copy and paste mindset. And you see, this is a bigger problem for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, that's why most people say, oh, you should have experience in this Big Four so that you can go and start a firm. And you see, that's why most people, when they leave the big organization, they copy the ideas and so go to doing it in a small way. And you see, there's a very big difference working in the corporate and doing a startup. Because when there's a startup, there's a different set of skills, thinking that is needed in order to scale the business, which it cannot happen in a global, because when you're running a global firm, you have everything at your disposal. So it's not a copy and paste or a replica of the Big Four, but we are unique in our own way, and our competition is to give services, good service to our clients.
And how's it been scaling? Because someone from River Road, right now you guys own your own property, starting up single-handedly, now having more than 10 partners, having more than 150 employees. What are the lessons from you can share also with the audience in terms of now scaling a business?
So in terms of scalability, one of the things that I have promised myself, and some of the things that we discuss as a team, there's no glory in being small.
No, there's none.
There's no glory in being small. And I know there are those entrepreneurs who like managing some small boutique practices. But for me, I think that's very limiting, because there are things you can't do if you are small. Because at the startup stage, there are things that we couldn't afford. There's some expertise you need in board. Like, for instance, the IT. You cannot get IT if you're not a large company, because the economies of scale will not allow. If you cannot employ and manage to employ an IT tech person on board, you cannot, like for us in our field, you need somebody who is an expert, like in financial reporting. If you don't have the economies of scale, you can't pay an expert in financial reporting. So one of the things I've realized that scalability is very critical to any organization in order to establish a formidable force that will have significant impact. So one of the things maybe I advise entrepreneurs, please embrace growth. But again, I realize that growth without the pillars of growth is like a building built on a very weak foundation. It can crumble anytime. And the pillars of growth is now system, structures, and processes, professionalizing the business. That's a very critical issue, making sure that the system, structures, and processes are strong, are firm, and all that. And then the other issue is people, because when you talk about people, it's succession planning. Who do you want to take over the business? Mentorship. So business entrepreneurship is just beyond making money. It's also trying to have a generational impact. And that will be done very well if you mentor people, so that you will be able to replace yourself. Because the tragedy with the African entrepreneurs, they start companies, but then we become captives of our own business, because we've actually not taken up the challenge to try to mentor the next generation of leaders that will take over. And in this country, we have some very good corporate companies that started up as family business, as one-man show, but now they have scaled up to be public entities that have a very good impact, employing so many people, and they won't just go down because the founder is no longer participating in the business.
And how do you ensure that now you can, what's it called, what's it called? You talked about systems and also just ensuring that you mentor. But how do you ensure, or maybe you can just take to us in terms of how you transition, not just moving from just being a one-man business to being a business whereby you have also other leaders within the business, other particular partners within the business.
Yeah.
How was that? How did you maneuver that particular, what's it called, transition?
So one of the things I normally say, this is the difference between a small company and a big company. As a small company, I used to tell staff members that if you are average and below average, you can work very well in big companies. But for small companies, you need very smart people. Actually, the smartest of all, because you need people to make decisions, because there are no systems. When you're starting a company,
you're building on your feet.
You're building on your feet. There are no systems, there are no processes, there are no structure, there are no procedures and forms. You have to almost rethink everything. So the tragedy with a small company, you need very smart people. Very smart people. So what we did in the farm is get on board very smart people from school, the smartest of all, because we are in the professional practice. Professional practice, people who are consultants have to be the smartest of all. And then number two, develop these people. Make sure that you build the capacity. You make sure that they are very, very competent in whatever they do, and then assign them responsibilities, and of course then take care of them in terms of reward, and just make sure that there's an element of trust. They can trust you, and that is what has helped me, because most of the staff now that have grown to partnership, actually they came from school. They came from, were in their very career formative stages before they joined the practice. So they've grown the ladder. Up to now, they become the business leaders now and the partners. And these are the people now who will be able to run the farm, even if, for me, the founder, I have to now exit the practice.
So primarily the business has been built of, what's it called, supporting small businesses and local businesses to become professionalized. And that's one of the biggest issues that you're having for most businesses, aspect of compliance. What are some of the compliance elements that any small business that's starting out needs to be aware of and need to build on, or maybe just ensure that they're actually being compliant from the get-go?
And thank you. One of the things I normally talk to businesses and small businesses on our continent is that compliant is here to stay. If you don't want to comply, you rather don't grow or don't be in business. And the next age, the competitive age, will be derived from compliance. Compliance organization are futuristic, especially look at the trends in the compliance world today. Like it come to KRA, there is ITIMS. And there's ITAX. Today, if you go to Uganda, there's IFRIS. If you go to Rwanda, they are very perfectly integrated. Their businesses with their revenue collection system. So you realize that there is no room for non-compliance for entities so that they can be able to survive and grow their business without actually being compliant to the taxes. So the most important thing for any organization is to embrace the issue of compliance. And then number two is also to look for professional advice, because you can also embrace compliance, but you might find yourself paying so much tax or very little tax, exposing yourself to other significant tax liabilities. You need to professional, because tax is becoming complex. You can almost not do everything on your own. Get professional advice and then comply. And then one of the things I also want to tell them that KRA does not come to take all your money. It's only looking at a portion of the profits. It's a hidden shareholder looking for a portion of the profits, not of the revenue. So again, complying does not mean you will not grow. You will be impoverished because of paying taxes. Because we have companies that have become so huge, even in America, even in the UK, even with significant tax compliance requirements in those jurisdictions. So we need also to embrace compliance as a lifestyle for entrepreneurship, and then of course engage government to make sure that our taxes don't grow so much. So when it comes to compliance, you're looking like things like the corporate tax, which is a percentage of your profitability, assuming a profit of about 10 million shillings. The corporate tax will be 30%, which is 3 million shillings, which has been adjusted accordingly in what is deductible and not deductible. So the VAT is another very big issue. Most countries now find their budget through VAT. And VAT is a percentage of the sales. Then you less also 16% of the purchases. You get the net of the two and pay to the government. And then another significant compliance issue is pay as you earn, which is now taxes that are deducted from employees, and of course the director for the salaries and emoluments that they will withdraw. Those are the three very, very critical taxes for any entrepreneur to consider, look at the impact they have on their business, and comply accordingly.
And most businesses primarily start as a business name, as a, what's it called, as a starting point. It's just a business name, primarily it's under your name. But at what particular juncture should one now transition from just being a business name, primarily maybe to register a corporate entity?
So you see, the issue is corporates buy from corporates. You see, that's why if you have a business name, you can trade with individual. You can open a kiosk dealing with people, people without necessarily having any problem. But when you want to scale to B2B, corporates buy into corporates. So if you want to have a corporate brand, corporate image, and position yourself as a formidable force, attract capital, and also scale the business, then you have to transform from a business name to a corporation. At the same time, there's the issue of legal liability. If you're still a business name, you're so exposed to legal liability. As you grow and expand, enter into contracts, complicated contracts, then you need to ensure that the company is incorporated into a limited liability company, because that gives the company what you call a corporate veil, so that the liability is distinguished from the owner and the company. So it's very important that if you want to grow, expand your business into B2B, or you want to enter into significant contracts that actually, and you are protected, then incorporation into a limited liability company is more recommended than remaining as a business name.
One of the things about any business is the aspect of audit. And especially for any particular startup. One audit, because I'm like, why are you auditing me? And it's my business, I'm the one running the money. But how important is audit for any particular business?
That's the biggest challenge with audit. And most often, I'm even always very shy to introduce myself as an audit because of the perception people have towards an auditor. Because people think that audit is about fraud, others think it's about compliance. But audit is about growth. As Ronalds LLP, we have demystified what audit is. For us, we believe audit is good governance. Audit is strengthening your systems of internal controls. Audit is about supporting you in terms of compliance and advising you accordingly on how you can be able to grow your business. Audit is about trying to support you in terms of even business strategy. How can you optimize your assets? How can you expand into other jurisdictions? How can you cut your cost and increase your profitability? Audit is more than just compliance and fraud. It's actually supporting. In fact, in our practice, we've developed a tool which we normally call the Business Survival Index, which we have actually tried to identify what are things that really matter to any organization to scale beyond the owner.
What is it? I'm quite interested.
And one of the characteristics we realize, those companies or entities that have regular professional audits, they are likely to grow, expand, and scale up than companies that don't embrace professional audits. That is one of them. We have developed 5 parameters. One is financial, human resource, marketing, IT innovations, and leadership. So there are 5 key elements that inform a company that will be able to scale to the next. So every time new entities can come, we can do for them a free health check and determine where are they in terms of business survival.
And in fact, from the 5 indicators that we've talked about, which one is the most critical in terms of them both?
They are balanced. You have to balance. None of them is bigger than the other, because HR is very critical. Because without people, an organization is not able. So there are basic fundamentals that any organization needs to put in place as regards HR. And we ask 5 questions. Do you have an HR person? Do you have HR manuals? All those kind of things, HR compliance and all that. Then 2, we talk about financial leadership. So issues to do with audit, issues to do with accounting systems, knowing your cost, your revenue, your profitability, your assets, liability, and all that is very critical. And then the other issue is marketing. Do you have a marketing strategy, website, a digital presence, or all those kind of things? Are you proactive about marketing? And then you talk about IT and innovations. Is there a constant innovative department or team that is constantly looking ahead and trying to adjust the business model to respond to the market fundamentals. So you need to have that innovation. And then the leadership. Are you forward looking? Are you able to inspire people to subscribe to the vision and all that? So all those are balanced. So when we do a survival index, we try to identify what gaps do you have and how can you proactively respond to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of, what's it called? Because I'm quite fascinated about the business survival index.
Yeah.
From your engagement with different companies and what's it called, different particular corporates and individuals, what exactly has been maybe just one underlying aspect that makes some companies fail?
The leading one is financial.
What about it?
Is financial lack of financial insights into an organization performance. We normally say that finance is the lifeblood of every organization. If you don't have money, there's no survival. So in terms of like, is our revenue enough to meet our costs? Our costs sustainable? Are we managing costs better than other companies? And then are we optimizing our assets? Do we have the right assets and tools? Do we have the right capital and all that? Are our business profitable? So if you don't have those basic elements, and are we continuously monitoring our finance, our projections, our budgets, and making sure that we be able to stay in within? Because if our finances are unacceptable from the top line perspective, how can we grow our financial muscle through maybe increasing customers, growing, increasing the market, maybe through market diversification and all that. So financial is very critical, but also people, you can't forget about them, and marketing, you can't forget about them.
Interesting. And maybe just the final question: cash flow of profits. Which one do you lay more emphasis on? Between cash flow, revenue, and profits, what do you lay much more emphasis on?
All of them. All of them are very critical because cash flow without profits is a problem. Because you see, cash flow, where did it come from? You see, the problem is if you lay emphasis on cash flow, it means you're surviving on loans. You can get a big loan, you have cash flow, but you don't have revenues to match that or profitability. So profitability there must be a trade-off between cash flow and profitability. So you must make profits, and then because if you make profits without cash flow, it means you are not collecting from your customers. It means your revenue recognition is on things that are not very critical to the company. So mostly if you make profits, you must make sure that you have collected the money and you've banked. So you need revenue, profitability, and cash flow to have a very sustainable business.
From your years of experience doing audit, what's it called, doing accounting, giving out professional advice, what's that one advice you'll give to an entrepreneur probably watching this on what they need to do in order to ensure that their business becomes successful?
Entrepreneurs need to professionalize their businesses to be more successful.
To professionalize, what do you mean? Contextualize?
To make sure that their business outfits are not informal. They have structures, systems, and processes that can support their business model. It's one thing to have a business idea. It's another for that business to be really a credible business entity. And that professionalization will achieve growth, will achieve sustainability. It will be able to achieve the impact that it's actually meant to achieve. Professionalization is very critical. And I'm saying that because most of entrepreneurs, in their DNA, professionalism is not in their language. Because professionalism is synonymous with the corporates. But that's what kills entrepreneurship. Because if you don't because most corporates, they understand, but entrepreneurial organizations, they don't appreciate professionalization.
Wow. Interesting. Wow, quite a number of insights from this particular conversation. Hope you've learned quite a lot. I've actually learned quite a lot. And the biggest key takeout is just how do you professionalize your business? And you need to professionalize your business to ensure that your business not only becomes sustainable, but also profitable. Thanks so much, Ronald, for having come to the show. I've enjoyed this conversation. I think we should have Ronald more and more and more. There's so many questions for entrepreneurs out there to answer. As always, we're coming to you from the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur out there and you want to be a part of this particular club, please join in. Also, 2 of my books, Food for Thought and Business Conquest, are actually out there. Go grab yourself a copy. My name is Ian Dennis, and this has been the Late Night Business. Until next time, I'll see you right here on KT.